Hey guys, what's up? Lewin here at Garageband and Beyond. Today I'm going to be giving you a lesson on how to mix both male and female rock vocals. I'm going to be covering EQ, compression, effects, and a couple of little tricks you might not know about. So if that sounds good to you and you like the content that I make here on my channel and you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button or the little bell notification button so you know when my videos come out. And if you just want to hit the thumbs up, liking button, that'd be awesome because that helps my video get viewed by more people and I would really appreciate it. And it's just a click, so real easy thing to do. Anyway, let's talk about vocals. The song we're going to be listening to today is the one that I released here on my channel on Monday called The Songwriting Partner, which is basically the conversation that I have with myself in my head when I write songs. And let's listen to this lead vocal. We're going to go into the chorus a little bit. So we'll start halfway through the verse, go into the chorus, and then we'll start talking about the details.
It's a mountain inside of my brain. I need a lick you that will drive them insane. Oh, I know what to do. This riff is really gonna kill you. Hold tight, it's one of my favorites. This run is really gonna make it.
Okay, so that's it. So let's start with the lead vocal, okay? So this is what we're talking about right here. Okay, so there are 2 delays on this vocal, and that is one of the special things about this vocal. You might not know that you can put 2 delays on a vocal, so that's what I wanted to talk about. The first one is right out of the Slate Digital plugin package, which I love. This repeater is great. This is the wide vocal delay number 2, but it has been shortened dramatically. When you normally turn this on, I think it's like half notes or something really, really long. I brought it down to 1/64th notes. So it's an unbelievably fast slapback delay, but it is spread out over the left and right channels. This delay is to do 2 things. Make it sound like I'm singing in like a garage or something, but also to just fill up a little bit more of that sonic space across the stereo field. So let me go ahead and play this for you, and I'm going to turn it off and on. We're going to start with it off, okay?
I've been writing in circles so long,
Turning it on.
losing momentum inside my own songs. It's a mountain inside of my brain. I need a lick you.
Right? Pretty simple. So I did pull sort of the color down so it's not really, really bright. I didn't want it to be very crispy. You don't want delays to have too much high end usually. And the high pass filter has actually been turned up a little bit as well because I don't want it to be thumpy in the return. So this, again, just to sort of create an environment that, might be realistic, like a garage or something, okay? This also adds a new color and a little bit of just a flavor to that vocal tone. The second delay that I'm using is right out of Garageband. I've actually been using the Garageband echoes and reverbs a lot more often lately, primarily because some of the ones that I use, like the Waves, the Abbey Road collection, great reverbs and delays, but they're really taxing on the CPU. So in a case where I didn't really need the specialist, the most special stuff, I can use just a regular old echo. So this echo here is set to quarter notes, with the wet output at 17%, dry at 96%, and the repeats are 64%. So that's quite a bit of repeats, but at 17% on that wet output, you're not going to hear a ton of it in the full mix. Now, as I solo this vocal, you will hear it. So let's listen.
I've been writing in circles so long, losing momentum inside my own songs. It's a mountain inside of my brain. I need a lick you that.
So that was with it off at the end. So this delay is going to do something that really most listeners won't comprehend. They're not going to listen to your song and be like, "Oh, there's a long delay on the vocal," right? They're not engineers. They're not musicians. They don't know anything about this stuff. They just sort of inaudibly, very lowly, they will hear this delay. That will then, in turn, in theory, tap on their own memories and like, oh, I remember that sound when I was a cave or when I was in a empty Walmart or some big gigantic space and there was this huge delay. It's one of those things about music where, you know, people interpret it their own way. I've always thought of long delays like this in that manner. It's not so loud that people really acknowledge it as a delay, but it does sort of subconsciously give you something else to listen to, which usually indicates a big space, right? This is a little bit more of the theory behind using effects and stuff, but I think it works. So this long delay, it's very, very subtle in the big mix, but it is very powerful overall. So let me put it back in the mix and I'll just play one line.
Circle so long, losing momentum inside my own songs. It's a
Right? And depending on how the rhythm of the vocal is sung, you know, depending on the words and depending on the pentameter of it all, the delay will do different things throughout those sections where there is nothing, where you get to just hear that delay. So that's just a cool sort of benefit of using just a basic quarter note delay. Sometimes quarter notes are too long. Sometimes they're too short. You do need to experiment. You know, there's lots and lots of different options on this delay. So anyway, basic echo delay on that. Now let's talk about EQ and compression and the distortion that is on this vocals. I really like distorting rock vocals for the obvious reasons. It's a famous sound, but it also gives it that edgy, biting thing that just sort of makes it feel like angsty and angry, you know? So I am using the FG76 digital preamp, the vintage preamp from the Slate plugin thing. So we're just going to go through and listen to this vocal with the distortion on and off so you can hear what it's doing.
I've been writing in circles so long,
I'm going to solo it.
losing momentum inside my own songs. It's a mountain inside of my brain. I need a liquor that will drive them in.
Again, yet another very subtle effect, but something that really does sort of hit the brain subconscious and make it, you know, just makes it feel angry and like a real rock song, okay? So if you have your own distortion that you like to use on your vocals, don't use it a ton, right? And you don't want it to be really bitey usually, depending on the mix, but in general, I find myself pulling the high end off of any of distortion that I will put on a vocal. In fact, if you looked at the coloring and stuff on the short delay, I think I talked about it, it was, you know, not very bright, in fact. I didn't want that returning signal to have any high end or not a lot of it, right? So on this, when we talk about EQ, I want you to notice how much low end I've taken out using the high pass filter, okay? So I have it rolled all the way up to 194. I mean, I was just like, I'm going to crank all of it out. I wanted to get rid of as much of it as I could. Now up here in the 200 range, that is also brought down. I mean, let's call it 9 dB. So I went to great lengths to remove as much low end as I felt appropriate. I didn't want it to sound thin and shitty, but I did want it to sound like piercing, and I did want it to sort of cut through the mix, which is heavy in the choruses, right? But I just wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be piercing, and I wanted it to poke through the mix. So I didn't use a lot of high end. On pretty much all the vocals that I record, regardless of its style, you'll find me rolling a lot of the low end out of it and usually pulling this 200 out. Those are just things that I like to do with my vocals, but I do find that things sit in the mix better that way. They don't take up the same sonic space as things like the bass or the kick drum or the guitar part. You know what I mean? The voice should just be the voice. It shouldn't be interfering with anything else in the mix. And a lot of that low end that could be coming from proximity effect from your microphone or the microphone itself or wherever. It might be coming from your room, whatever. You don't need it. Just get rid of it and your vocals will cut through a little more cleanly, okay? So that's it. Mids were brought up mildly. This one's around 4.5. This one is at 1. Let's call that 1. Basic stuff here. Just trying to get it to be clean and clear. Now, of course, it does have the distortion on it, so this control right here is where I brought the high end out. No big deal. Compression. I love this FG stress thing. It is really, really good. Now, it is hitting pretty hard. This one is called In Your Face. The preset, I didn't make that preset. That's what it's called, In Your Face. And it's just like a heavy compression that isn't too audible, but it really is pretty heavy. So let's listen to this on and off.
Insane. Hold on, I know what to do. This riff is really gonna kill you.
Right? So it helps, capture some of those peaks, but it's also releasing really, really quickly, right? So it's not holding on to anything. So it's not really audible, like I said. It's just doing what I needed it to do, which is help condense that sound and, shave off the peaks, but just to give it that compression sound. Just get the everything bundle from Slate Digital, you guys. It is so good. The ratio is set to 6-1, and there's nothing on here at the bottom. Mix is set to 100%. I wanted to hear all of this compressor because it is so good. Okay, so that's the lead vocal. 2 delays, 1 short, 1 long, a distortion. The EQ has a bunch of the low end rolled out, a little bit of the high end rolled out, a little bit of the mids boosted. The compressor is pretty heavily compressing the signal, but not so much that you hear it, okay? That's it. Now, let's talk about these backup vocals, because in the chorus, I wanted this thing to just explode. So I did 3 more recordings of the same exact part, right? So I sang the same exact line through this microphone right here, my Shure SM7B, 1 time so it would be pan to the left, another time pan to the right, and a 3rd time was the lead vocal. The 4th time was using my copper phone. Now, the copper phone, if you don't know, sounds like this.
Hold on, I know what to do. This riff is really gonna kill you.
It sounds like an old crappy telephone, right? Why I love this microphone is for this application right here. This is one of those things, like, I don't have to sit here and dial in that tone anymore, which is always sort of problematic. I never think I get it exactly right. The nice thing about the copper phone, it's just right. It just sounds exactly like you want it to sound. You're not like omitting a ton of frequencies to get this sound. This is just what it does. Now, obviously, there is a little bit of delay on there. It's a pretty basic one. Oh no, not that basic. It's the Abbey Road one. So it's a pretty cool one.
Hold tight, it's one of my favorites. This run is really gonna make it.
The Abbey Road thing, you guys, if you haven't gotten the Abbey Road's Chambers plugin yet and you have the money, wait till Waves does a sale. I got this for like $29 and it was a steal because it's an amazingly good plugin. I really, really do enjoy it. However, it is very heavy on the CPU. If you get this thing and you don't have like the world's fastest computer with a ton of RAM in it, don't use it on every channel. Just use it where you want it. That's my best advice. Otherwise, your projects just slow down. It gets too heavy. Anyway, so that's what's going on there. Now, the other 2 vocals, like I said before, recorded through this SM7B, I wanted them to be, number one, different from the lead vocal. So they have a lot more low end in them. And reverb, which is straight out of Garageband. We're going to listen to them.
Hold on, I know what to do. This riff is really gonna kill you.
Right? So not swimming in reverb, but there's a bunch of reverb on there. I'm not going to lie. That is just reverb to help create an environment between this ambience knob and this reverb knob. When I was mixing this thing, I was listening to it, and originally I had these dry. I had these totally dry. And it was popping, and it was not bad, but I was like, I need them to be bigger. So I just added not a lot, but, a slightly above average amount of reverb. Pretty simple thing to do. And I, again, used the reverb plugins in GarageBand because they were perfectly fine. But these 2 vocals, these 2 panned left and right, nice and low with some reverb, combined with this vocal, which is the copper phone vocal, which is really thin, right? So that sits on top of all of them. It's centered, it's panned in the center. It really is just riding on top of the lead vocal, which still has all its effects on. And the only thing that changed in the chorus is the fact that it got a volume boost, just because I wanted to make sure I still heard the lead vocal. These 2 and this 3rd one just exploded this chorus for me, between those and the guitars, of course, but these really helped the vocals just pop out of that chorus just the way I wanted to. So let's listen to it again. Now, the other thing that, you should be thinking about here is, why are you using like multiple effects? Because I wanted to. Because I wanted it to have this sound like a bunch of different people singing. I wanted it to sound like, an army of dudes just like, whoa, don't. I wanted it to have that sound. Using the same exact effect across all of them wouldn't have done that for me. I wanted these multiple sounds, especially when you drop back into the verses. Suddenly all those sounds go away. Those reverbs go away. That copperphone tone goes away. So it really does isolate the chorus from the rest of the song, which is just what I really wanted to do with the production of this particular song. I think that's pretty much it, you guys. Or let's look at this. No. When I talked about not rolling out of the low end and these outside vocals, it's this much. I just went up to 50. I brought the 200 out a bunch again. Not much going on here with the highs or the mids, just a little bit of tweaking just to get it a little bit of that breathiness, throaty tone out. But otherwise, not a lot of EQ here. Just a little bit of the low end was rolled off, but not nearly as much as in the lead vocal. So that's just so they're beefier. So when they do come in, they sort of punch you in the ears a little bit, figuratively speaking. I don't literally want to punch you guys in the ears, but I did want it to just have this beefy, wall of sound thing going on. So I left a little bit more of the low end in these than I would any lead vocal, really. But it was a momentary thing just in the choruses where I wanted everything to be bigger and beefier. So I used some of the vocals to help accomplish that, as well as bringing the bass in the chorus and some heavy guitars. So I think that's pretty much it now. I think I've covered all of the things I need to cover about the vocals. The compression was pretty basic on here. It's an optical compression, which is really just shaving off the highs. Nothing too special here. I think that's about it, you guys. So if you liked this video and you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button, the little bell button for the notifications when my videos come out, and the thumbs up like button so it gets viewed by more people. Super easy thing to do, and I really appreciate it when you guys do that stuff. Other thing is you Patreon patrons, you guys are the best. I'm so happy that so many people are finding their way over there and signing up and becoming part of the Patreon family. That is truly the thing that is keeping Garageband and Beyond going. So if you really do like my content and would like to see more of it coming out, check out my Patreon page, because those people are the best. So you can be part of the best people in the world by just going to Patreon. Super easy. I give away rewards, and there's a bunch of rewards there, so check them out. Otherwise, you guys have an awesome weekend, and I will talk to you soon, all right? Peace.